Well, let's do the intro then.
Everybody put on their normal faces.
Yeah. Take out the.
Sorry, this is my normal face.
All right.
Hey, pipe down, mister.
Whoa, fella. Whoa.
What was that voice? Like some kind of like Hobbiton or something? What was that? It sounded like tattoo.
Well, that's
from,
our show, everybody. Thanks for joining us.
Coming
You
into
too.
the ring.
Oh my God.
I just relived every Saturday morning with Casey Kasem from childhood, like in just a moment there.
Casey K.
Oh.
Oh, what was that big rant he did? Well, you had me coming out of a song talking about a dead dog. I mean, God damn it. How am I supposed to talk about a goddamn dead dog coming out of a happy song? All right. Welcome to a show called This Sucks. It's our podcast on YouTube. And tonight we're going to be talking about ADD, something that me and my four friends, Jason, has ADHD. We all like to chase squirrels. We have Matt right here as soon as my computer wants to change. And then we also have Kevin. What's going on, guys? How's everybody doing? So,
I'm sorry, I wasn't paying attention. What?
yeah, squirrel. So this is going to be really interesting because we have four people who have ADHD who have to, one, stay focused, on task, and
Matt failed.
the third one that just left my brain. And actually, yeah, this is how it's going to go. The entire show is going to be like this. This is going to be a fucking disaster. This is going to be great. It's either going to be like a lesson in context of what has to happen every time an ADD person wakes up, or it's just going to crash and burn, which is what happens typically when an
I
ADD
feel
person
like
wakes
when I
up.
wake up in the morning and take a deep breath, that's exactly what I smell every morning. Crash and burn. Let's take on the day.
I really didn't think you were going the direction of a deep breath, but
I didn't either.
Yeah.
Getting a little questionable. Getting a little questionable.
I
So,
hope one of those guitars falls off the wall.
so we decided to talk about something that we all deal with, and
Nice job pushing on.
yeah, that's how a leader works. I'm not a leader,
Very
by the way.
professional. Yeah.
Thank you.
Go ahead. Sorry to interrupt.
So I was I was diagnosed. I probably shouldn't do that. Okay, I'm going to cut that out. So I was diagnosed back.
You need to have an animation of me going.
Oh.
Ah.
And when I was diagnosed, I was roughly like 6 years old. And so much has changed with the treatment of ADD, ADHD, how it's approached, how it's understood. There's actual like real research that has gone into it now. And in the document that we all sent around, just to kind of fill out for tonight. So Jason, you said you were diagnosed a little bit after I was.
Yeah.
Dynamite
You
drop
want
in.
Yeah, I was
Hey, orange shirt.
Yeah, what do you want? This is how you can call me out. I wear colored shirts.
Yeah, go orange shirt.
Yeah, somewhere around 86, 87. It was junior high when I was diagnosed, and that's still when ADD was different from ADHD. So, but yeah, it was an experience getting diagnosed. We can get into that in a minute.
Matt, what about you?
I want to say it was like 93, 94 for me. So, and we're all similar age. So I was diagnosed later in life than y'all were. When I was about halfway through high school, I think, or maybe at the beginning of high school, so like 9th or 10th grade. And that, it wasn't. I was also diagnosed as ADD, I think, as Jason was, without the hyperactivity piece, and then it all eventually, right around that time, I think, got rolled into ADHD, and then they kind of phased out the ADD, and it was just like different. It was like the ADHD was the hyperactivity piece, but then they said that it could also go just with like inattentiveness, right? And
Yeah.
and then I had like the inattentiveness, but I also had some impulsiveness going on too, I think, but not as much hyperactivity. Always been a slow burn kind of person. So
Yeah, that's true. Kev, what about you?
1988, 89.
Yeah.
As I've gotten older, I've been able to learn more as far as my own personal type, which is actually called combined type ADHD. And it just has to do with it really has to do with what behaviors fall into what category, like some with the hyperactivity, some without the hyperactivity. But then they all share like a lot of similar things, but then there are other specific things. Holy cow, man. Emotional, all different kinds of stuff. But I didn't pick
Yeah.
that up till I was much older, which helped shed some light on, on a whole lot, especially as an adult, and find out that ADHD, is manageable. It is basically taking things on a completely different way. And the hard part is what it takes to get to that point. It's all the impulses and dopamine dumps you need and all the, good stuff.
Yeah. For me, getting diagnosed involved a rather traumatic experience as a kid. I was in first grade. And as Matt has mentioned several times pejoratively, that I was born and raised in Mobile, Alabama. And I was going to a Catholic school. And it came time in first grade to learn how to count and like do simple addition. And the teacher handed us the most vivid thing I remember. She handed us like these plastic coins or something, or paper coins, and said, "Hey, all right, let's add everything up." And I looked at everything in my hand and I'm like, I don't know what you want me to do with this. I don't know what any of this means. Couldn't figure it out. Weeks went on, and it got to the point where rather than try and help the kid, the teacher said, "Meet me outside," so that she could spank me because she thought I was just screwing around. So every day at math time, we would do the same thing. Here's your coins. Can you count them today? Like, couldn't count them yesterday. Can't count them today. I'll meet you outside. And basically every day at math class, I got a spanking from my teacher in first grade.
do you still have her phone number?
You want to call her up? She's probably not alive anymore.
Oh,
I mean,
okay. All right.
Catholic schoolgirl fantasy going on there.
What?
And
What?
I don't know,
Maybe.
Matt. It's an ADD episode.
It's just like,
Why not?
grief.
So it
Gotcha.
was shortly after that I got tested. And the testing involved me going to this house and where a therapist was at and going through the big manual test that we used to get. And basically they
Like
came back and they were
1,095 questions.
yes. And then every
Right.
time an
Yeah.
ambulance drove by, I ran up and looked out the window, and she was just yelling at me to get back to the test because she had to get to her next patient. I'm like, what do you fucking expect? You're trying to test for ADD. And by the way, I passed.
Yeah.
Um,
Congratulations.
It's
Yeah.
cheers.
Oh, I never got physically punished like that. I mean, for something that simple at that age, but
Have you guys all had an experience?
I was
would
in
say,
Alabama,
like, from
so
our generation of,
mm,
you're lazy, you're dumb, like Trey said, you're getting pops or whatever because you couldn't understand something like that. Man, I had that stuff happen so much growing up as a kid and in school, and it made it even worse then, because then it's no longer about acting out. It's like, okay, now we're gonna act out, and I'm pissed off. So
yeah,
yeah.
I was gonna say, like, I felt, I think the thing that was most frustrating to me was when people would say, "Well, if you would just try harder,"
uh,
and I'm just
Yeah.
like, "Oh man."
it's the feeling inside of an explosion you can't let out, but you wish you could share with people so they knew exactly how shitty it feels sometimes. I mean,
Yeah.
it's a lot, man, a lot. But
I didn't get the corporal punishment, man. My parents were very clear to the schools that if
oh yeah,
anybody's
your
going to
dad
do
would throw
that,
you a beating if you were going to get a beating, not them.
yeah, that's very much the way my parents were. They were very much, we're going to handle it in a house. You're not going to handle it at all, and you just tell us what happened, and we'll decide the punishment. And so I never got that, thankfully, because I mean, the one time that one of the teachers said, you can have swats, I was like, you give me swats, I'm gonna punch you, and I was not a small guy at that point. I was very strong and very scary. And the teacher was like, okay, so in school it is. So I did in school suspension for that one, but that didn't have, no, I guess it did have to do with it because I wasn't doing my work. Um, but, it was, I was getting sent to the principal's office because I wasn't participating. And I wasn't participating because I didn't understand it. So, this was my fourth time in algebra, failed it three times before that. And at that point, I was just reading a book. But I mean, really, honestly, you try to teach. It's like teaching somebody a language. You got somebody who doesn't understand English, telling it to them again and again and again the same way. They're not going to understand it. And that's what was happening with algebra. Every year you had the same coach coming in teaching me algebra the exact same way they tried to teach it to me the year before. I didn't understand it then. I don't understand it now. If you're going
Mm,
to, it doesn't matter how many times you show it to me the same way. If I don't get it, I'm not going to understand it.
right.
So,
And maybe I missed what, when, or how old you were when you were talking about that. I mean, you're doing algebra, so it's clearly much later in life in your school career.
kind of, I started algebra in actually in seventh grade. I aced pre algebra in sixth grade,
Oh,
started
okay.
algebra in seventh grade and failed, retook algebra in eighth grade and failed, retook algebra in 10th grade and failed. No, I've got the wrong timeline. I'm sorry. Pre algebra in seventh grade, not sixth grade. And, then my first 11th grade year was the last time I was at Lamar. And that was the last time we had, the last time that I failed algebra.
I think that's a good demonstration of how the ADD, or what now is called executive dysfunction or executive disorder, impacts individuals differently. Because come to find out, one component of my ADD or ADHD was dyscalculia. I suck at math. And not just, oh, well, algebra is difficult because it throws ABCs into my math problems. It is sometimes just a concept beyond beyond me. And that really is what led into having to really focus on trying to just do rudimentary math and finding out different ways that I had to learn. And the one thing that I thought was interesting while researching some of the stuff that we wanted to talk about tonight was how ADHD used to be the actual condition. And now, like I said, it's executive function disorder. And ADD or ADHD or ODD is a comorbidity, which is a symptom of the disorder. And so obviously it has impacted us differently. And the more research they do, they have found out that the executive function is it's like right here. It's the prefrontal cortex. And that controls your personality, kind of who you are. And there are so many symptoms or comorbidities, whatever word you want to use, that go along with ADD or executive function disorder. I'll get that word right at some point. And it's really interesting to figure out or find out what actually is happening inside the brain. Because I didn't understand it until I was probably 15 or 16 when I was talking to a therapist and she explained that, look, this is basically a neuroreceptor disorder. One receptor is not open to receiving dopamine and norepinephrine uptake, right? Which is why sometimes there are medications that are prescribed. And even Kevin, you mentioned earlier that about that dopamine boost.
Oh yeah.
And that's
I feel
what
like with ADHD people in general, like everybody in the world to some degree, dopamine is always a pleasant thing, brings you happiness, yada, yada, yada. But
it's the
when
runner's high.
it becomes like your brain constantly has to thrive on that in order to just survive and do your normal day-to-day stuff, even if it's little things. It sounds dumb, like we garden a lot, but the main reason why is I can go out there and go, look, a yellow flower, or look, a tomato. And it sounds silly, but I allow myself a certain amount of time every day to do that as an adult, so that my day's a little easier on when I have to focus and take care of what I got to take care of.
Yeah, but it's also something you've done. You're seeing a result from something that
Yeah,
you've
yeah.
done.
And granted, it's
Yeah.
same thing. I don't know, why physical work I can really focus on and do and be successful at and things like that versus other things, just like I said, man, I went to phlebotomy school. I'm a certified phlebotomist, and I really feel like at this stage of the game, it would bore the hell out of me.
Well, I think you bring up a good point of ways other than medication that you can sort of like thrive by changing your environment and changing your tasks during the day. You're like fixing your being out of the box. And part of the issue with us being in school was we're in that box, and there isn't like, you can't go garden in the middle of the day. You can't go and change
You
the
get busted
scenery.
for smoking cigarettes, but
I mean, it's different now, like a little bit different for our kids, in that they let them get up and walk around the classroom if they want to. They let them take a break. They let them go outside if they want.
yeah, the options now are we certainly didn't have those when I was in public school.
No.
That just wasn't a thing that you got. I mean, the next step would have been just like, oh, we'll just have to put you in special ed. And there was no difference, in a lot of ways where they were treating people that way, whether you had Down syndrome, autism, ADHD, whatever, they would just group everybody together because they were different.
Yeah.
And
speaking of that, how do you guys view your children through the lens of ADHD? Like, do you have specific children that have like certain things that remind you of yourself, or can you like I have 3 kids, and like one of them, like for sure is like, I'm like, wow, yeah, that's totally ADHD. But then like maybe more mild with another child or something, I don't know, or different.
right.
Right.
Well, here we'll go through.
Yes.
Jason, how about you?
Oh yeah, yeah. Both of them um, is more like mine, where he doesn't have the hyperactivity, but he does get hyper focused. Uh, Very similar to me. When he finds something that he enjoys, that is his world until he finds something else that he enjoys, and he will learn everything he can about whatever it is. Um, is um, very much my opposite. He is hyper as all get out, very physical. He likes to run around, do things outside, jump around, play sports, whatever he can do. Um, but he does not get the hyper focus. He gets bored very quickly and moves on to something else. But both of them are very much um, ADD, ADHD. They're both neurodivergent, just like me. So with that, it's actually very easy to understand where they're coming from, why they do things the way they do, the certain ways that they do things. Easier to explain uh, why they don't understand something and how they can maybe try to figure it out a little better, different ways to approach something they don't understand to maybe lead them in a direction to where they can understand it. Uh, those are all the little tricks that I learned, which, the after I left Lamar, went to the high school that I met all you guys in, that's the stuff that they taught me how to do there, is how to pick it apart and look at it from a different perspective, to try to understand it from a different point of view, as opposed to going straight on the same way everybody else does it.
I've got some interesting thoughts about the schooling. So I definitely want to hold that till a little bit later for that topic. Kevin, what about
Oh,
you?
yeah, yeah.
Anything that you recognize in your kids?
I had 3 kids, man, and the 2 oldest are just as normal, whatever you want to call normal, average kids. They're very, very intelligent women. And then I have my highly functioning autistic 21-year-old. And he has been a work of art almost his entire life. The difference, though, is I started recognizing those things in him pretty young. And the way we had to go through between the school system and advocating for our own child, because nobody's going to do more advocating for your kid than you will ever, as far as that's been my experience. Where one issue, like you guys would say things with teachers or whatever, very candid and frank with the teachers, and they were like, well, he didn't want to do this today. I'm like, okay, well, they're saying he's got this autism. I'm like, here's the deal in our house. We don't have excuses. We have differences and we have different ways of learning. And some of our journeys are a lot harder than the guy next to you, but it's just a difference. It's at the end of the day. And it does make a lot of things harder for him. It's been more social than it has been. Um, I don't want to say like intelligence. I just don't have a better word for it.
His book smarts are there. It's his
Yeah,
social
and like
interaction.
he's ridiculous on just like anybody, especially once you're really engaged in a topic you love. Then the
Yeah.
great thing about ADHD is you can achieve some things. Like he is completely self-taught on a guitar, and that was like YouTube stuff that we didn't have available as kids. But it's been
Oh my God,
amazing
yeah.
to see how good he's gotten. And I'm like, yeah, man, he's over like just stuff that I consider complicated. But again, with him, it was a struggle, man, a fight for so many years between the constant bullying that he got in schools. And I think 2 principals out of anything were actually very much on his side and advocates, things like that, versus we had one teacher that was a doctor, supposedly, you know, had a degree or whatever, that was a elementary school teacher. Treated most of the kids, I thought a little rough, but I kind of got where he was coming from, where he was at. But then to hear some of the things that he would say, like he did with kid one day, he's like, you know, you're never going to end up being anything. You're never going to amount to anything in your life. And, you know, you'd be lucky if you get a job as a garbage man. I'm like, first of all, do garbage men make good money? Second of all, who are you to put that in the kid's head? That, I mean, you're supposed to be the example and whatever, but dealing with those kinds of things and then having to go back and advocate in front of, man, all the way into high school. I mean, this didn't stop until he was out of high school, basically. But even into high school, I don't want to call it madness. Just like I said, a lot of advocating on our part, and
Yeah.
I hate that I know that there are some parents that give up on their kids and things like that on those deals, man. But it's that's the great thing about ADHD. I got focused on fighting for my kid, so I can totally focus on that and not give up.
That's awesome. And for me, I'm a later in life father, which has been a whole different experience. And there are times that my kid will do something and I'll think, what is that? Because I have a daughter and she will get hyper focused. I mean, just will not relent on whatever she's working on until it is done. But it does present itself differently in females and girls than it does in boys. And the nice thing is the school that she goes to has a smaller teacher to student ratio, similar to what we got when we went to school.
I wish they had that everywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They, well, boy, we could go on a whole tangent about public school and funding and how it should change. Oh my God. But yeah, she goes to a
one
school
thing you
that,
can say about that is at least there's still they have the 501, what is it, A or B or whatever.
Yeah, they get the 501s.
That is for, people that learn different, for the ADHDs, the
Right.
autistics, things like that, so that they do get the attentiveness that they need in school now.
Was that 504 plan?
Yeah. Yeah.
I think 503 are like Levi's button flyers.
No, that's 501. 501. That's Levi's.
503 is the Portland, Oregon area code.
Okay.
Well, there's that.
So 504. Yeah. Okay.
Yes, the 504s, because we had to go from 504 by the time the boy was in junior high, and they put him in special ed, and that was only to be able to qualify him for some of the extra help, throughout the school day, like he would go see another teacher to learn a specific thing. I mean, just the way they had it designed, but the only way that we could get him qualified for that was through special ed.
Yeah, it is different now.
Okay.
It grows too. That's one of the one of the cool things. It's like both of my kids
come a long way since we were kids, man.
Yeah. Both of my kids are in advanced classes, and it's because of the 504 and being able to.
So what is that? I've never heard of that.
There's a 504 and there's a IEP too. There's an independent education program, but the 504 is like basically it's a program where you get to stay in your classes, but
there's accommodations and things.
Yeah, so they have a meeting with the parents and all the teachers and the administration every so often, and you say, here's some of the accommodations I'm asking for, and they agree to it, and basically it just all gets written down. And the greatest thing about it is it follows you all the way through school. So once they give it to you, you can't every year you can go into your new teachers and be like, here it is, read up on it, and ask questions, because there are a lot of teachers out there that have you know,
very little understanding
yeah, I think
of
that's
Yeah.
probably the nicest way to put it.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and it is there. Being uneducated in it is not unusual. It's also not necessarily a bad thing. You know, it's they're ignorant of what causes it and the symptoms of it, and I mean, uh, we have to also get used to the fact that ADD, ADHD is used as an excuse for a lot of things
Yeah.
as well. So when you hear, "Oh, this kid is ADHD," oh, well, isn't every kid? Every kid's ADHD these days. Geez, you know. So getting them to actually understand what yes, he's been diagnosed and he is approved for the 504, and you have to have that diagnosis to get the 504.
Yep, you do.
And so as long as they understand, yes, this has been diagnosed and he is definitely approved for the 504, here's what he needs and here's what you're required to give him.
Yeah.
um
Oh man,
that
we actually had a deal where getting him tested in order to get him 504 stuff, we ended up getting a misdiagnosis. And ended up, that's when we were like, you know what? We're choosing what's going to happen this time and get this testing done. Because the misdiagnosis part, I was pretty not happy with that individual and how that came out, because that's supposed to be his profession, and it was
yeah.
to have to get
Well,
into a book and look up the answer because you don't have the answer. It's real hard for me to diagnose anybody.
how many have you guys when you guys were diagnosed? um was it the first time you went in they diagnosed you, or did it take multiple
Mine was the
times?
first time. I don't think there was any question about it.
Matt?
Yeah.
Um, at my at my age, or at our age when we were younger, I couldn't, like today, I can go into my primary care physician and request medication. Like for instance, like when I was younger, it was like you had to go. Like I had to go to a psychiatrist, I think.
Right.
Not,
I mean, I did too, but did they diagnose you when the first time you went to get diagnosed? Were they like, "Oh yeah, this guy's ADD," or
no, there was a test, but they were. I mean, I think they had an idea. Like, yeah, probably. It's almost like a spectrum disorder, right? I mean,
3 times for me, 3 times.
That makes
it,
And you
sense.
passed it on
The
the third
first,
time.
well, the first guy, my mom was she was like, "There's something's different. I need to go take him in and see what's going on." And she had been
Something's
reading up
wrong
on
with this
ADD
one.
because it was very she'd seen some things about ADD and she was like, "Huh, that sounds like Jason." And so she took me into a psychologist who gave me a test where I was in a room and he put headphones on me and it beeped, and every time it beeped I clicked a button, and then he would rustle around the room, moving papers and getting up from his chair, folding his chair, unfolding his chair, sitting down, moving around,
Trying to see
doing,
what your attention span would do, all
yeah,
that old crap.
yeah. So the beep
Well, that's
happened
just
every
annoying
13 seconds.
anyway.
Well, but the point is would I hear the beep? I'm supposed to be paying attention to the beep. So
Oh,
did I hear the beep?
okay.
And would I push the button every time it beeps? Well, when it beeps every 13 seconds and you know how to count, you just count to 13 while you're watching what he's doing and you press the button. Yeah,
Hey,
you
just
don't
because it's
have to hear the
ADHD
beep.
doesn't mean we're dumb.
Yeah. So, he's like, "Oh, there's no way this kid's ADHD. He's not ADD. No, he's just slacking." So my mom was like, "Yeah, I don't think so." So she took me to another psychologist, and that psychologist, had a I don't remember what that test was because it didn't stick out in my head. I think she was just asking me questions and whatnot. And goes to my mom and said, "This is quite possibly the most ADD person I've ever met in my life." And so my mom was like, okay, third opinion. So we go to, psychiatrist at this point because they can medicate, and goes to the psychiatrist, and we have a sit down, and my mom's not in the room. It's just me and the psychiatrist. And she goes, then calls my mom in after we have our discussion about how my life's going. And, she tells my mom, yeah, he's ADD. He is definitely on the further end of attention deficit, where more ADD than less. But he's not extreme. He's not an extreme case, like the second psychologist was suggesting. So, it took 3 times before I actually was able to get diagnosed and get meds for it. Um, which is a different section of this, but we'll just say I got medicated and it didn't go well. And but it took 3 times for them to figure it out. And that's in, mid to mid 80s, right? Late middle 80s when that happened. To these days, they've got much better tests, that they run on the kids and can figure it out a whole lot easier. But back in our day, it was rough, man, because it was just starting to understand that was even there, that ADD was a thing. They hadn't heard of it before the 80s. It wasn't
There was still
even
a
thought
stigma
about.
attached to it, very much.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. 88 ADD was still an excuse at that point.
Yeah.
Oh, it's not real. It's just something that come up to or something they made up to excuse the behavior of these children. That was a big thing. And it's like, dude, I'm not forgetting to turn in completed homework assignments because I chose to.
Yeah,
It's
when I was younger, my brother-in-law, who was my mom's second husband's son, he is about 10 years older than us, and he was going through a PhD program to become a doctor and get his doctorate in like psychology, and he had to write his what's the last paper called that you have to write?
Dissertation.
Or something.
yeah.
Thesis or whatever it is. And he chose for his subject, I'm going to explain to everybody why ADD is not real. That was like his whole thing. And this was at the time I was going through all this stuff, and I was like,
Good
oh
time.
man.
Oh shit.
But that was, I mean, and you're right, Jason's right. Like there was a real push. You all know there was a real push against it. Like it was just totally made up at one point. A lot of people just were like, nope, it's not a thing.
There is an
Yeah.
entire generation of people that have been damaged by or otherwise by a particular product that starts with the letter R. And that's as far as I'm going to say. That didn't help a lot of people, made a lot of things worse for a lot of people.
Yeah.
Rhubarb.
And it's still the most commonly given. Yes, rhubarb is still the most commonly prescribed thing too.
Strawberry rhubarb pie.
It is, because when I was tested, I think I passed or was diagnosed, whatever you want to call it, just right off the bat. She was like, yeah, just take him home. We couldn't complete the test because he couldn't stop looking outside the window for ambulances, because we were next to a hospital, so there's always ambulances going by. I'll just get up and go run to the window like squirrel.
That's why they had you in the Catholic school. They were hoping to get your ass exercised.
Yeah, get the demons out of me. Get the demons out. So yeah, I mean, I think I was put on medication shortly after that, and even sooner, I was pulled out of that Catholic school I was going to, and then went to a public school. And that's kind of saying something when you're pulled out of a private school and you're like, oh, thank God, I'm in a public school. This is so much better. And it's just like,
I think that's just Catholic schools, Trey, because I did the same thing.
Like
probably
as a kid, man. But
When I
Oh,
got
I
to
was in
5th grade,
there.
I was like, yes, no more
Yeah.
Jesus.
First grade to third grade was Catholic. Then I did third grade in public, maybe third, fourth. No, fourth grade was in private, but it was a school geared towards kids who were dealing with all the things, the dyslexia, dyscalculia, ADD, ADHD. They gave me a stimulant and they tried two different versions because in 1983, 84, they only had two. And it was the extended release had just come onto the market. And that didn't work at all. That was, my mom was like, nope, 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 nope. Put him back on the other stuff because on this extended release stuff, yeah, it's like he's done. He hasn't taken anything.
yep.
I never had an adverse reaction to the medication I was given until much, much later when we were living in DC not that long ago. And my primary care physician didn't like the fact that I'd been on a stimulant for so long. And I get his concern. I'm not saying it wasn't unfounded, but he was like, we're going to get you off the stimulant. I'm like, the non-stimulants don't work for me. They don't. Oh, they've changed. Not really, because it's a non-stimulant. That's kind of how it is. I mean,
by definition, it has not changed.
yeah. Yeah. So I was like, no, a non-stimulant 40 years ago is still a non-stimulant today. It hasn't changed.
Yes,
And
but we have a different kind of additive now that we've
Right.
just come up with. That's
yeah, that we
not
just
a
invented.
stimulant.
Let us know how
That's
it
right.
goes.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, I think that,
he,
oh,
go ahead.
I was just yeah, I was given a stimulant as well, and it, I mean, right away for me it worked. I mean, like the first day, it was amazing. And there were times where we had to adjust the dosage for me because it was, I would get a little bit, like, I don't know, feeling kind of sort of a just burnout at the end of the day a little bit too much, or I would feel a little bit like I had too much coffee kind of during the middle of the day.
Okay.
So they would adjust the dosage a couple of times, and then we switched medications a few times, just to try some different things. And I tried some of the non-stimulant ones too, and they didn't. They worked with me on my mood probably more than like my attitude, more than. But I would still have a lack of focus. Like when I was on the stimulant medication, I could just, just like they said in The Simpsons, they called the drug focus in, I think, in that show. And that's what it did for me. It would just really help me focus in on stuff. And um and then I was able to build my life around not taking any medication for the better part of 20, yeah, I'd say 20 years after I got finished with school, because I really felt like I needed it for school. But then when I got into doing winemaking, or I got into doing web development, I could do, like Kevin was saying, I could change my environment. I could change the way that I could, thrive better with the issues that I had without medication, because it wasn't a box that I had to fit in. It was a box that I wanted to be in.
I mean,
That's right.
I didn't take
Not in my
anything for
world.
Thanks.
a very,
Pete.
very, very long time, and eventually went back to a doctor and had discussions about, look, I don't want to take this, but I'm really struggling with this. And so he's like, okay, well, we're going to prescribe this. And we're not talking like I was 15 years old or 16 years old. I'm an adult in my, late 30s. And it was, the first experience was really, really bad. The one medication. The second one after I switched doctors. Much better, but I still had problems shaking, and it wasn't as noticeable. But again, going into phlebotomy, you don't want to have shaking hands when you got a needle in front of somebody and go, "Hey, I'm going to put this in your body. Look at my hands. Oh, hey." So
Everything's fine. Don't worry
the
about it.
third one, the third one, um, he's completely taken a different approach and found more of the root cause of the problem versus this is how you used to be treated with stuff. So I like this guy so much. And so he switched me to this stuff. Now and I apologize. I'm making the adjustment literally today. I'm on my second dose and I've been off of it for over a year because I lost my job and my health insurance. So I lost all my medication and just finally literally got everything back yesterday, but started back on my main one that I take. And it's right now, it's just the adjustment period and remembering, oh, it felt like this for about 3 to 4 days till it got into my system. And within a couple of weeks, I was just good with everything because I went not untreated, but unchecked. And so that was, I say it's kind of a blur part of my life. It was not a good part of my life. And that was as an adult. But this stuff basically just helps me control the depression issues that my ADHD causes. And I did not realize how bad the depression had gotten at certain points and things like that. And this is having been a father and all these other things. And I'm like, man, why do I feel like all of a sudden I'm having these emotional crises and stuff like that? Like I've never really had to battle it as much before. And like, I don't know. Eventually, like I said, it just kind of came trickling down. And I say the blurry part of my life because where those things were missing, I tried to replace them with other things and absolutely did not work. And I knew they weren't going to, but,
Yeah,
play
right.
dumb games, win dumb prizes, that kind of thing. And man, I got a whole collection of dumb prizes in my life.
No, I'm right there with you. When I say I wasn't on my medication for 20 years, I was self-medicating with alcohol. That
was my biggie.
That was my big problem.
Yeah.
That was my biggie.
And it
addiction.
It was
Go ahead.
bad. No, it was just bad. It was a bad, pretty much my, as you guys know, in my early 20s, I can remember Jason coming to me, and I can remember other friends coming to me and saying, Matt, you gotta slow down. And I mean, these are friends that I would party with. And so, if you've got your party friends coming to you saying, Bud, you gotta slow it down a little bit, then
I mean, I did
yeah.
my fair share of drinking, and I mean, I as far as in my early 20s, well, throughout pretty much the entirety of my 20s. But I mean, and I consider myself having been pretty bad during that time, and saw you and was like, dude.
I went to college kind of later than most people do. Like I think from when I was about 24 to 26 was when I was going to the Art Institute. It was around like 2000 to 2002. And so I was in a lot of trouble before that when I was living in Watauga. And then I decided to straighten out and go back to college. And at that point, I got back on my medication and then was able to go to college, and I did a great job, and I had great grades, and I was really interested in the work, and I did well. And it was a 2-year program, and then I got out of it, and then I met somebody at the college, and we were together for a while, and we moved to Oregon together, and I got up to Oregon and broke up with that girl, and then my dad was just an hour drive north away with a winery full of free wine for me to drink every week. And from, not that it was his fault, you know, it was just the access was there. And I just started drinking every day after that, and got off my medication because the two things, of course, didn't mix very well. And and I drank away my entire 30s too, my 20s and my 30s. I didn't really stop drinking until my wife now stopped drinking, and like altogether she stopped and said, I'm not doing this at all anymore, I'm not even touching it. And I decided to stay as a winemaker for my job, and so that made it, you know, even more difficult. But um I was able to get sober when I was about, I want to say about 7 years ago, maybe when I was like 41 or 42. I got sober, and I, you know, realized that I didn't want my kids to see me as that person anymore. And that was why I stopped that. Um, and my wife too. I mean, she's really, you know, like the driving force for me to just to be a better person than a drunk. I mean, Jesus. I mean, who wants to do that, right?
Yeah.
We both got lucky in that department, sir.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah. I don't think I've had a drink in about, God, maybe 4 or 5 years, maybe longer, because
Then I had a beer a couple weeks ago at a trivia thing. Other than that, the last time I had a beer was the last time I got to see you, Jason.
Yeah, that's probably the last time I had one too. Like, I
Wow.
mean, no,
Yeah.
I had one at Tim's the other night, but I mean, mine's my medication history really, you know, as far as either self medication or, you know, doctor prescribed. Um, you know, when they put me on my stimulant for ADHD, I was uh, either extremely happy or extremely angry. I was never just there. I was never just enjoying the day as it was. It was one or the other. And the day that, you know, I had to stop myself from throwing a desk through the window just simply because a pencil fell off of it. Um, it was that was it. You know, I was done, and that was high school. So, you know, I haven't been medicated for ADD since then. Um, you know, I just decided I was going to figure out how to deal with it. I would teach myself how to focus, how to pay attention, how to realize when I'm slipping, realizing when I'm not getting done what needs to get done. Um, and that has been a real driving force for me. Understanding the ticks, understanding the drinks that help, the food that helps, the food that doesn't help, you know, things like that. There's a lot of dietary things that I do to keep myself focused. Um, you know, multivitamins, vitamin D, vitamin K, vitamin C, things like that really help me stay focused. Coffee, you know, is stimulant, caffeine. I mean,
Hmm.
that's a real simple thing, man. You know,
Yeah.
we all know that we can all drink a pot of coffee before we go to bed, and it's not going to affect us. You know, it's
Well,
not going to keep us up.
I think that's the interesting thing about the executive function disorder is that stimulants don't make us, they don't stimulate us. They actually
No,
bring us down,
they
which
bring
to
us
your
down.
point, we
You
would
know,
we would sit at IHOP and drink like 5 pots of coffee or more,
yeah,
and both of us be like, I'm exhausted. Let's go
yeah. Let's
home.
go.
And we would just walk
Yeah,
out of there just mellow as shit. And
Yeah, but the opposite of that is like, and the days of the natural substances that we would partake in after school.
So that was just being
I
that was
don't even know how to
uh,
word that without some.
herbally infused is the word I use.
Okay,
I would go
so
with that.
yeah. I mean, that had me bouncing
We
off
ate
the
a lot of
walls.
broccoli after
You know,
school.
everybody else would be eating a
Broccoli.
Twinkie, and I'm bouncing off the walls trying to see how fast I could play Kevin's drums. And
Broccoli
everybody
does that
else
for
is
some people,
is just like, sit down, shut up, enjoy the Twinkie, man. That was like, yeah, but
I got to be honest, man. There were
so
days we were so herbally infused. That's why we could play a 45-minute song. I mean, I feel like we were way ahead of our day, right before Dream Theater, and everybody was doing like
Yeah.
80-minute songs. Like we were doing them every day after school, every
but
day.
but I haven't touched that since high school, and it's one of those things that the day that I couldn't remember a riff 10 minutes after I played it, I was like, okay, I'm done with that. But that's never been something that has been a yay or nay for me either. Smoking, on the other hand, as far as addictions go, like some of us are addicted to alcohol, some of us are addicted to caffeine. Smoking was the one that got me. Nicotine in general is the one that uh, i I hyper focus when I have that. So when I have my nicotine, I am able to do my job and function as a normal person would. It does help me focus.
Well, nicotine's a
I'm
stimulant.
Yeah,
I'm addicted to nicotine like you are. I can't, like, it would drive me crazy because I would date girls that would be like, well, I can smoke when I drink and then I don't have to smoke after that. Like I would go from 0 to like a pack and a half a day. Like that was just like I
Well, in
couldn't.
high school, man, we
couldn't
all
stop.
smoked in high school, like with the exception of Trey. Trey was like,
Trey was the only one who didn't do anything.
that's because Trey was smart.
Because I was the lookout. Well, I mean, yes.
Oh no. I don't know. I mean, I think Trey was the late bloomer. He didn't hit
Oh
that
no, I
stuff
was
until later.
definitely the late bloomer because once we went to
But-
what was it, when I turned 21, it's when I vomited on the motorcycle outside of, it's now closed, right? Fantasy Ranch.
Oh yeah,
Oh.
it's gone. It was a music club for a while. I played some gigs over there.
Where was that?
Off of
I don't even-
360.
Yeah.
You know where Mariano's is?
No.
Off of 360.
No.
Remember that
It's
old broadcast school that was over there?
It's the opposite side from Six Flags, though, right?
Yes.
Yeah, it's on the
Okay.
east side
All
of
right,
360.
all right.
Yes.
All right.
Speaking of
Fantasy Ranch
Six-
used to be over there, and then they just called it the Ranch, and it was a music venue. They still had the same gentleman's establishment
Oh.
menu, and the food was great and cheap, and then you could play a gig, and it was cool. I never would
Okay.
touch the carpet though. I was really scared.
Yeah. The heaviest I ever drank was during my second marriage. And I mean,
Sorry.
it was, and that's something we need to get into, is the relationship damage that executive function can do.
Oh my goodness.
But yeah, I mean, I remember entering the recycle bins one day or taking them out, and they were filled. And we're talking like the what is it, the 50 gallon or the 55 gallon rollout recycle bin.
Yeah.
And it was full of beer bottles. I'm like, we didn't do anything. It's like, is this us? I'm like, okay, this.
How old were you?
I was like, I
How
gotta
old were
stop.
you at that point?
That was late 20s.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was late 20s.
Mm.
And I still drank a little bit after that. But as I got older, I noticed that when I would go out and socially drink, I would binge drink. And I wouldn't just have one or have a couple and enjoy it. No, it was 0 to 100. I'm getting lit and I'm going to pass out. That's what I'm going to do. And I didn't plan it. It's not like I wanted to do that. But as soon as I had the first drink, that's it. It's on.
That's
and
the
we're going
hardest
until I
thing
pass
ever,
out.
man, with really and truly with any of it. And like, I mean, I could go drink 12 beers now, but it's just not the end result that I want, because I will feel terrible tomorrow. You know, I just don't handle it the way that I used to. And
your liver's worn out. That's what happened to me.
I just can't sleep. Like, like throughout my 20s, like I drank like a fish, man. You know, I mean, I had a lot going on personally, and drinking was my escape at that point. You know, there was, with friends going to jail and parents dying and things like that. It was one of those where it's like, I was drinking as much as I could just to escape. But after after my 29th or 30th birthday, somewhere in there, I just kind of was just like, yeah, I'm kind of over this. And I still had my times where I would get, go out and get plowed. It was not nearly as often as it was in my 20s. And then just over time, it just got less and less and less. And it started getting to a point where 1 or 2 beers when I was going out, I would start getting this bad headache after just 1 or 2 beers. And I would go home and I just slept like complete crap. And I mean, like, I never got hangovers. I'd never in my life have I experienced a hangover.
lucky bastard.
And
Yeah, son of a bitch.
yeah, that's
Actually,
the general consensus between from everybody that hears that.
well,
But honestly,
those of us
never
with,
had one.
those of us with hangovers are actually the blessed ones, I think.
Yeah, because in all honesty, because that's a good deterrent, right? Like, you're like, oh my God, tomorrow I'm going to wake up feeling like complete hell if I do this. Me, I didn't have that problem. I was like, man, I just get up and I'm ready to go. Let's go. Let's go do it. I had plenty of weekends where, or weeknights that I was just getting toasted and I was cleaning carpet during that time. And, I'd get hammered the night before. I was not going to bed until 4:30, 5 o'clock in the morning, getting up at 6 and going to work.
Parallel parking cars in the ice.
But
I mean, I could do that when I was younger. Now, no.
I couldn't do that today, but I mean, there was no hangover involved in any of that.
Yeah.
It was just like,
I think in my
okay, we just go on.
But, my
But,
20s and 30s.
now
Yeah.
I just don't want it now. There wasn't any real decision. It wasn't I can't do this. There wasn't any medication involved in it. There wasn't any. It was just, I just kind of went, I just don't. I just don't want to.
Well, going back to the ADHD medication part of this, it's like the putting the medication into like in a I think I just had a ADHD moment there. Sorry.
Yeah. That's perfect. That is perfect.
I'll pick it up because I feel kind of lucky that I was able to find a medication for me that worked, even though the doctor back in Virginia had his reasons and I understand them. And we did try things. The worst reaction I had off of medication was, I can't remember the name of it, and I wouldn't say it if I did, but I sat down after my partner went to work and sat down on the couch. And then the next thing I know, she walks back in the door and I'm like, oh, what'd you forget? She's like, it's 5:45. I'm like, what? No, you just went to work, dude. She's like, no, I'm done with work. Have you been sitting here all day? And I'm like, and then I just looked up at the TV and it's like Burn Notice reruns. And I'm like, yeah, I guess so. And the more I took that medication, like the worse the slowdown and my time loss would happen. I'm just like, I would have lost all motivation to do anything. And I think I set an appointment with him over the next couple of days. And I was like, we're done with this. I'm not screwing with this. Just put me back on what we know works. I recognize your concerns. If you want me to sign a waiver, I'll do it. But if this works, why are we doing this? Because you don't like it?
You reminded me of my point earlier.
Okay.
The thing about stimulant medication is the stigma around it. You know, you have like, let's just say, football players, professional athletes use the same drugs to help them focus on the field, to catch the ball, to run fast, you know, like to, well, not run fast, but to like, say like you're a football player to like dodge the other guy, to focus to intercept the ball, those types of things. And so there's so many, even though people look at ADHD through a more intelligent lens today than they did when we were diagnosed as kids, it's still, so much of it is so like, I think people still kind of discount what you're going through as a person, as an adult. Like,
Yeah, absolutely.
I feel that
Yeah,
a lot
totally.
around me.
I
Well,
feel
we
like
get
they've
it
made
from in the
strides.
community too, because the neurodivergence is so different between each person.
Yeah,
You know,
absolutely.
it's
Individual.
yeah, like my experience with ADHD is not going to be the same as your experience with ADHD,
No.
which is why some medications would work on you that don't work on me.
Right.
Or
And
vice
also
versa.
why that's also why they've gotten into the whole deal of, well, we can't call it ADD or ADHD anymore. We have to have like a single type and a combined type. And then there are subs of those, because every person, you may fit 3 of the 10, you know, things in this category, but 8 out of the 10 in this category. It just, it's interesting on how much of it that they're discovering is actually linked to autism.
Well, yeah,
To degrees, and and it depends on the severity of the ADHD and the differences. Like, I definitely have the dyscalculia, but my son's autism, unfortunately, a lot of ADHD stuff going on there, and dysgraphia and dyscalculia.
Yeah.
All kinds of fun stuff going on.
No,
Yeah.
I know. And I think the right terms here too, as Jason said, neurodivergence is a
Yeah.
great, and then my wife will always say, like, then regular people would be called neurotypical people, which
Yeah.
kind of sounds like you're making fun of them a little bit, which I
F
think,
you, Becky.
I think
Well,
that's great.
the thing that
But-
I find amusing is I really truly believe that neurodivergent is not the minority at this point. I really
Mm.
truly believe that neurotypical is the
I agree.
minority.
I
And
agree.
with that, would neurotypical be the best phrase? Would that be the proper terminology? Because it's not typical if you're the minority. Right.
That's
No,
right. Burn the witch.
So-
Burn the witch.
exactly.
Well, so like I used to get pretty mad when people would call me ADHD. You know, I was like, it is not the same as ADD. You know, it's like I am not hyperactive. And I mean, is literally just recently, like within the last year, that it was explained to me in a different way. It's not necessarily, you know, hyperactive bouncing off the walls hyperactive.
Yeah.
Right. It's focusing more on the hyper part of that, where your ADHD, if you have a tendency to hyper focus or hyper analyze or be hyperactive, anything that's hyper, not hypo, would
Right.
fall under the ADHD, right?
Yeah.
Well, and that's why I really have, like I said, or you guys were saying, you know, neurodivergent things I learned from my kids, because I was like, neurodivergent, because my daughter's like, Dad, you are so neurodivergent some days, and I'm like, huh? And so I had to once again learn more about what that was, and I'm like, damn, why didn't we have this when I was younger? Because this is great. This
Yeah.
explains even more
Well,
and
then I think
covers so much more that, you know, it's like, oh my God, this is even cooler. So I like neurodivergent because the word makes me feel like an X-Men.
Yeah, I love that.
Well,
too.
and I
I
think
like
over the last few years, well, not even last few years, last several years, we're starting to get back to the point where before like the mid 90s to mid 2000s, where everybody under the sun had ADD, had ADHD. It was all about, oh, your kid can't sit down. Oh, they have ADD. Here's, this stimulant or that medication. And I really feel like that decade, that time period, I don't know if it was an actual decade, but that time period actually set back the individuals like us who actually relied on those medications, because kind of just to round out the medication part of it, the part of the reason why they're starting to reclassify everything is because the DSM-5 is what everybody uses to prescribe medications. And they're saying, well, ADD cannot be this disorder because there are so many other things. And it's made it harder to fall under that executive function disorder to be able to get the medications, because I've had difficulty trying to get my medications. For a stimulant, you have to do a triplicate. One goes to the DEA, one goes to the state, and one goes to the pharmacy. And it is tracked.
That goes back to the stigma I was talking about too in Massachusetts. And they'll say, hey, we've got to get we need to see a form of identification. We have to scan your ID because this is a controlled substance. They have to go back to a special part of the fucking room to get it. And of course they do that in front of everybody else in the pharmacy and make you feel like
you feel very uncomfortable.
Yeah, it's a Schedule 2.
And make you feel like you're a drug addict, basically.
Oh, and the best part is when it doesn't work, because your respective issues alongside your ADD, right? Because ADD is never alone in its divergence, right? There's always something else that goes with it.
Correct.
So whether it's dyslexia or autism, or
I think that autism is a real thing, like Kevin said. I think it's do you remember Asperger's? They don't say that anymore.
No, it's just part of the spectrum now.
Yeah, I just prefer hamburgers, really.
I know, but that was the thing. I remember Jerry Seinfeld. I remember Jerry Seinfeld in an interview. He said, I was reading a book about this guy about Asperger's, and he's like, this is fucking me. Like, this is me. And I remember distinctively for myself personally, when I was a kid, I can remember so many people in my life, including really close family people, just saying, he's just an asshole. And they would say that all the time about me. And I just thought, after a while, when you're called that long enough, you think that's just who you are.
What you are.
I'm just an asshole then. But really, I think that really think that I'm on that spectrum too.
Well, and most of us are, whether it's high functioning or not, whether we want to believe it or not. Each
we also like to talk to an
squirrel.
Yeah, but all of us in some form or fashion, if you're neurodivergent, you're I think, and I could be wrong on this, but I think if you're neurodivergent, you are somewhere on that spectrum.
Absolutely.
And it may be high functioning, barely noticeable, but there's going to be that one thing where you have to tap your foot or, whatever, or you're further along on it where you're able to count every toothpick in the box when it falls on the floor. I mean, it's just one of those things where you're somewhere in that range, right? And speaking of Asperger's, there was a comedian that I was rolling through the little shorts who he said, when I was growing up, I was diagnosed with Asperger's, and I finally got to where I was okay with that. And then now they've changed it. He's like, I no longer have Asperger's. I'm something else. And my dog is apparently really pissed off about the word Asperger's.
Sorry, it's killing me, man.
Hey, it's that Asperger's. I want an Asperger.
No,
he's
like
like, don't you
YouTube
call
doesn't
people
flag
that.
us for this. I mean, right?
But the whole point of this is I really do believe that all of us are somewhere on that spectrum, and
Yeah.
it's just
My wife
You know,
does
man, what's
finding a
too.
really cool
place.
about all of this is that because of this difference, you are three of the best and longest friendships I've ever had. I mean, in my almost 50 years on this planet. And that's because we had that in common because of the place we were in, like you said, in the box we were in, but we really got to know each other for who we were and our differences, and really, I don't know, it just always flowed and worked well that way, respect each other that way.
Yeah.
Hell, we made fun of each other because of it. I think that was probably great therapy for all of us growing up, because we would just bust each other's chops over the craziest stuff.
And I think our differences complemented our similarities.
Oh
I was
yeah,
about to say
You
absolutely.
the
know,
exact same thing.
that's one of the things that we had enough differences to where we could introduce each other to something else, where we had the similarities to where we could still tolerate each other.
Hey,
And
music was
Yeah.
a biggie.
yeah,
You know,
absolutely. So hold on just a second. I'm gonna go shut that dog up.
There was I think that's great about this podcast too, about getting us back together to do this. That's been really fun for me because I tell you, I'm getting to be 50 now, and nobody wants to talk to me anymore. Older people don't
No.
want to talk to me. Younger people don't want to talk to me.
again, man, I really think it's unique. We've all had so many incredibly unique experiences individually, divorces, marriages, addictions, all these different things. But again, here we still are 30 years later, and sitting down like, hey man, hey, how was work yesterday? Oh, cool. Hey, we're going to see, to me, our relationship has never changed like that. I may not hear from you guys for a month or 3 weeks or, whatever, but then when I hear from you again, it's like, we're just sitting here having this conversation like this. So
Yeah,
like Matt
I
said, I
hear
think it's
you.
a really cool medium
Yeah.
for that. I think it's kind of therapeutic for all of us to do this. So
Yeah.
I don't have friends like you guys. Like, I've never met anybody since I met you guys that means this to me. So it's been really great for me. Except for Trey. I don't like Trey very much, but
No.
other than that,
that's because he shaves his legs with a disposable razor instead of, just manning up and using a straight razor and strop. But
I tried, and then I don't know. I couldn't pay attention long enough, and I'd lose count.
He got mad at
That's what
me
it
when I
is.
sent him the one that has the big bar around the razor that's nice, supposed to smooth it out. He was like, I can't believe you did that. Why'd you send that to me? I was like, but it said Venus. Isn't that, what you wanted? And he was not.
no, the box was mismarked. You thought there was a P, not a V. They put the
Well,
price
that's what
tag
I
on
thought it was. I was like, oh, a penis in a
You
box.
got in the wrong
Oh.
razor.
One of the funniest
That'd be
stories
a
that
great
I just
thing for dudes for manscaping. Richard's razors.
Here, I bought this razor from Crystals. Enjoy it. It's like,
I think it was with Jason when we were at IHOP, and you were talking to one of the waiters. I can't remember the guy's name, Eric or something like that. And I was just staring at this fucking painting just over the top of your head. You guys have been talking for, I don't know, 5, 6, maybe 7 minutes. And both
was
of you just
Carrie.
looked back at me. Who was it?
Carrie.
And I just noticed both of y'all had just been looking at me for some amount of time. And just the only thing that I could do in response, I just went, free. I mean,
Trey, man, I think you might be experiencing some seizures. I think is what.
I think some days it goes beyond ADHD. It's a full ass seizure.
It might be because I mean, I was paralyzed for at least 3 seconds. It was,
Yeah,
I laugh about
I have
that.
a
that was good times.
I got another point to bring up about the ADHD medication too. Uh, There, well, okay. So after we talked about that, I was thinking about when we were talking about neurodivergence and autism. Part of the concern I have, and this most of the driver for this in our family is my wife. When we were talking about our kids, and specifically one of our kids, and there was a point where we could go through some testing to get a diagnosis for autism, and we decided not to because of the current president. Um, there, the understanding or the conspiracy theory, I guess, around this is that if you have a child or have somebody in your life that's like diagnosed as autistic at a federal level or even at a state level in some states, that when you have somebody say like Robert F. Kennedy Jr. take over the health department
Yeah.
and all of a sudden say, hey, this isn't a real thing anymore, and by the way, these people are, we need to find them and we need to take them out, or we need to find them and we need to change them, we need to put them into some kind of therapy that,
Need a
you know
national registration.
Yeah,
Yeah, it was a
Exactly.
I saw
registration.
some of that too, man. And my
That's what he
first
was
deal
calling
was
for.
is like, oh well, we just need to get all these people together and do all this. And I'm like,
this is a but this is just another example of
it's scary.
another iteration of like having ADHD, the medication for ADHD stigmas, and now you go into neurodivergence and autism, and now there's stigma around that too, and you've
Yeah.
got these huge groups of people that just don't believe in it. They don't think it's they
Mhm.
just don't believe the science behind it.
Or they think something causes it externally.
Or
Yeah.
maybe it's a choice and not a way that you're wired.
Yeah. And that's, they throw out all the science. They don't listen to the science. There's plenty of science behind imaging and, like showing where the brain fires in
Oh
neurotypical
yeah, man.
versus where it fires in
There's so
neurodivergent.
much science on it.
But they don't want to believe that
Yeah.
science. They're like, no, that's not real. It's all because of vaccines.
That's
It's
that's the frustrating thing to me, is that we we live, and I don't want to get too political here, but that we live in a country that at the moment right now really makes me feel like there's a lot of people in this country that don't have that are really very extreme in the opposite direction from myself.
well, yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. There's also the people that don't want to believe because they are that, right? And they have been called idiots their whole life. And so now they're going to turn around and say, well, it ain't true. It ain't real. It's not this. I'm not like that. And they're going to get, real defensive about the diagnosis or the not necessarily the diagnosis, but the
I get pissed off at the 50% of the people that fake it, and then I get pissed off at the 50% of people that don't understand.
yeah. Like, I mean, it's
Are you talking about a sexual encounter right now, or what?
Just in general on how they treat
I can't land a joke to save my life here. Come on, guys, that was funny. Okay.
And
That's
this
why I was
is
only
why
in
we
Catholic school
blend.
for a very short time. No altar boy here. No thing.
We've all mentioned things about how we're viewed or were viewed, the neurodivergence labels. Jason, the one thing I thought was really interesting was that you have been able to figure out how you can self-manage, not self-medicate, but self-manage your habits to be able to control them. And to me, I find that fascinating because there's no way I can do that. I've tried it and my life went to shit without
Well,
medication.
don't think that's 100% of the time, man, because it's absolutely not. Like, there's plenty of times where I'm just going, why did I go to the kitchen?
And that's just age now.
I mean,
Yeah,
I
that's
mean that's
sometimes, buddy. That's sometimes.
well,
You
I
know,
mean,
I thought too, though.
that's happened for
On that point,
years,
man,
though.
I did martial arts for a lot of years, long time, and I taught martial arts for a lot of years, a long time. And of the different classes that we had, I got all the neurodivergent kids because the other instructors couldn't figure out how to teach them. And I'm like, we're teaching something very physical, very this, how much fun are you doing? What are you doing that's engaging? I came at it as if I was a kid in the class, what would be fun to learn, but also learn the discipline and the respect, the yes sirs, the no sirs, the different etiquettes that you have to learn. On just how successful I was. I couldn't believe it for all the years that people told me that negative statements versus being able to take something that was what I considered a negative or a hard part of my life and turning into something where I could use that as a tool to help others. And I had a lot of, I'll say, neurotypical students, absolutely did. But I ended up with like probably 95% of my kids, that autistic kids, tons of ADHD kids all over the place, man. And I'll say probably 99.9% of them that went to the first tournament I took them to all took first places because they learned how to focus. Because I learned how to focus from a different teacher. And I learned from a teacher that helped me learn from an ADHD perspective and come up with meditation ideas that way and things like that. And the discipline and sheer physical, man, I wasn't like a teenager doing this either. I was in my 20s and 30s, and everybody in class was younger than me, say maybe one or two guys in my class, and we typically trained together, but physically was painful and grueling and things like that. And that taught me these weird reactions, and they've become embedded as part of, like, I'll say, my own ADHD self-therapy. It taught me a whole lot about myself and why I learned this way, or why did I react that way, or why did it may be, I don't want to say sit and second guess and obsess over those behaviors, but hey, is this really causing me this much of an issue? And it's become a good tool. So, I know, Matt, you had your kiddos doing the Jeet Kune Do stuff, and I would recommend that really at this stage of the game. Like, if people were not interested in a medication route or something like that, is to get involved in, especially if you tend to be more on the hyper end of things, find somewhere where you're going to be comfortable, man, and just get somewhere where you can get physical and learn and really embrace it.
But also something that you enjoy doing.
Man, I could say the same thing about video games, hunting, nose picking. I mean, whatever you can. I mean, I'm still playing drums, man, and I've been playing drums since I was 10.
Music.
50s in a couple months. And
question, Kevin.
Yeah.
Different page of the same book, let's say. So you mentioned they would give you all the neurodivergent people, right? Did that piss you off on some level? Like,
no, I honestly, I felt like, because there were certain situations that just were the way they were, and that's fine.
So, I mean, here's why I ask that, because to me,
I feel like some of the instructors that would refer their students over to me when they were really making some vast improvements, some of them would follow up, hey, how's so-and-so doing? And I'd let them know. Or if they got to see him at a tournament, the kid would always run up and hug their original teacher. That's not a memory I would ever try to take away. But they're like, man, how are you getting them to do this? I'm like, hey, man, I got this great drill I could show you. It'll take 2 seconds to show you, and you're going to go, that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. I'm like, but it works like wildfire. See, it literally was little things.
To me, that's kind of a scenario where, like, you say, oh, this guy lived in San Francisco, so he must know this other guy that lives in San Francisco just
Right.
because he's there,
Right.
right?
Right. Right.
It's one of those things where to me it's, uh, you just because you're ADHD, they're giving you all the ADHD kids expecting you to make it work
Well, it was the
because
same thing, man. How do
you're
I get it? How do
supposed
I
to
get a kid to
understand them
stand
all,
still?
right?
How do I get them to stand still and do yes or no, sir? I'm like, you're trying to force it the old school way. I said, we teach. Remember, it's like old teachings with these modern teachings with a touch of tradition. I said, you got stick with your tradition by far. Don't change that, but don't make it so ingrained in yourself that you can't expect somebody physically can't control a movement or really is struggling. Hey, man, throw them a little something. How do you make that work for them?
Yeah, but it's that you should know how to deal with all of these
Oh yeah, yeah.
ADHD kids because you are. It's like they think that you're the magic token to
The
understanding
ADD
all of the
whisperer.
differences, right? It's like
I
and
thought it
that
was
to
kind of
me,
funny because you met Wolfgang, who was my
oh
master instructor and
yeah.
my junior. He's
How is he?
ADHD as hell.
I was gonna say how was he not ADHD? Like how did they not recognize that?
He would tell you straight up how ADHD he is,
Oh,
man.
I'm
But
sure
I tell
he
you what,
knew.
he's the one guy that was like, "Hey, I want to put you on this demo team with a bunch of teenagers, and you're going to do this jumping, flying thing." I'm like, "No, I'm not." And 3 months later, I was doing it. So that's what I'm saying. There were some things that he picked up along the way from somebody. You see what I'm saying? It was just
Yeah.
a progression
See,
of the
so
knowledge.
this
But
this is interesting to me because you looked at that position totally differently than I would have looked at that position. You're looking at it as that was an opportunity to get a bunch of kids who weren't understood in their reactions on how they participate in the class. You then had this opportunity to give them the same class that the other guys had, but instructing it in a way to where you were engaging with them. Where
absolutely.
I would have looked at that as like, why the fuck are you giving me all these kids? Like, you think I can just relate to all of them?
Well, I
It's like,
think part of that too, again, is the ADHD thing. How well do I deal with people telling me I can't do something?
see, and to me, it's the opposite
Super
is,
focus kicks in for me, and I'm like,
oh,
hold my beer.
see,
I'll be back.
me is that you're telling me I have to do something, and even if I was willing to do it beforehand, now I don't want to because you're telling me to do it.
That
You
sounds
know?
like
Asperger's.
ODD.
Well,
But
no, I mean, okay, so all
that's
right,
very much,
this is funny. Just my experience was my first teaching experience was like assistant instructing, whatever in class. Well, my first experience of getting to do a class of my own was basically okay, I'll give you 3 months if you can take this daycare class and turn it into a martial arts class. It's yours, and I'll pay you to do it.
see, that's a challenge.
That
I
was a
would take.
challenge, but it was
Yeah.
basics. But I struggled so hardcore because I could not get the kids to understand my terminology and what I meant and
Yeah.
why it was important. And I'm like, I sat down one day. I was like, I would be bored as hell. I'm like, what am I doing wrong? I know what I'm doing wrong. I'm not being my friggin' self.
Well, speaking
Yeah.
of class, I think I think going to the class thing, the last topic that we have is basically the schooling and how to teach a bunch of people who are neurodivergent, who need all different needs. And we all met at the same school in Texas. And as we said earlier, it's given us probably the longest friendships any of us have ever had. And while I'm appreciative of the schools that I went to that helped me learn and become an intelligent person because I knew I was intelligent. I wasn't dumb. I'm not stupid. The drawback, I think, to that was the skills that we learned never transferred. And Matt, you experienced this when, and I think Jason, you did too, when we all went to a junior college. None of the skills that we learned transferred to, well, anything on how to just learn on your own and how to work into a college class where you have to pay attention to all this stuff. And
Day one, overwhelming as hell.
oh my God.
And strangely enough, it's not just us. I can tell you more than one graduating class that had the same issue.
So some of that too, I think, was maturity. And I don't mean that as an excuse to say, well, it was a lack of maturity, it wasn't ADHD. What I mean is the ADHD causes a lag in your maturity. So
It certainly can.
so as you get older, you realize I can do this stuff. I can go to college, but now I'm 24. Or like I mean, I still can't believe that Trey got his 4-year degree. That was the most.
Neither
I
can
went
I.
to that ceremony. I thought it was the most amazing thing ever. Like, I mean, you inspire me today at 49 years old. I'm still taking one class a term online working towards my 4-year degree because I want to learn new things. And now I'm more interested in school now that I have tools like the internet, for instance, or like speech to text, which one of my
Oh my
kids
God.
really thrives with because they don't write at all. And then my other kid is straight up dyslexic, can't read, and figures it out eventually. But I am a firm believer that like those maturity levels that a neurotypical person reaches at these certain points in life, when you have the problem with your prefrontal cortex, your maturity is you're immature because
Mm-hmm.
you don't have the time for the rest of your body to
Look, man, we're all
develop.
hitting near 50, and I can say I don't consider it immature. Most people would consider us immature, and the difference is they love us when we're together immature. But
Well, there's a difference in that too because we're able to enjoy the times that we can be immature, but when it comes to the times when we have to be serious, we can be serious.
yeah.
And we have been able to bridge that gap, right?
But I
Like,
still work on it sometimes because sometimes, man, some things just fly out, and I was like, I can't believe I just said that.
well,
Oh
Yeah.
yeah,
but
absolutely.
Yeah.
there's
Trey's
getting
face said it
considered,
all. I mean,
yeah.
you're just like that. Did I just poo? Did I?
But
Yeah.
Yeah.
in regards to the schooling, there's another part of that too because ADHD has a big part of doing what you enjoy versus we won't get things done if we don't enjoy what we're doing.
Or find a way to make
You
it fun.
know, and how do we know what we want to do right when we're getting out of high school? We haven't done anything. We haven't explored anything. We haven't been anywhere. We haven't, tried out different jobs, different careers, different aspects of our life that we're actually going to enjoy doing.
Shit, some
And
of us didn't make it that
so,
far.
but going
Mhm.
to college right out of high school for someone with the same type of mindsets that we have, I I went to like 3 days of college before I was like, no, and left it because I didn't know what I wanted to do.
I struggled
And
with it, man. Even
that
on just trying to take basic stuff, and
well,
it was
but it
just
was a
like trying to
waste of
absorb
money.
it. I was like, when do I have time now? Oh my
It,
God.
it was a waste of money for me at the time to go because I didn't have any plan. I didn't have any direction. I didn't know what I wanted to do. And, it took a lot of years to figure out what I actually could make money doing versus what I enjoy doing.
I'm glad
Right.
you listened to me because the sock modeling career is going great.
Well, I feel for me, that was very different. I knew what I wanted to do. I wanted to go to medical school. I was really good at the classes, but like but I had to work 10 times harder just to accomplish the same thing. And then I would want to say, I think I asked one of the teachers for some sort of accommodation, and they were just like, oh, well, you have to go talk to the student services office. And the student services office was like, well, we need to see your background and your testing and all this. And I'm just like, I've been diagnosed. Why do you need me to prove it to you? I get
Oh man, they make
now
you go
I'm
through
older.
hoops.
Yeah. And I get why now that I'm older, I understand it, right? It's a college. They have to have it for the records, but it made it so hard to
Yeah.
take advantages of services that should have been available to me. And I was just
Especially
like,
when
my
certain places
God.
advertise it.
And
Yeah.
that's one of the nice things going back to that Levi's deal, the 501. Um that
504.
Are
those
504.
Bugle Boy
that follows you.
jeans?
That follows you.
They do make
So
504 jeans.
when you get to college, you'll
fuck.
have that. The kids these days, they'll have that with them, and they won't have to go find their psychiatrist and their medical records and
Yeah, it is
all that
nice.
stuff to prove it. They have that from the point that they go in and get approved for that all the way through. So,
Well, and like what Kevin was talking about earlier with martial arts too, that's very much a school also. Me and my partner and my children all did martial arts, and I think for me, like I think something about the uniforms, and something about the ceremonies, and something about the techniques and stuff that they show you during those, that like there was something like was really in my ADHD like mind, it was very interesting to me. And I loved that you walk out onto the mats with another person, and you didn't have any kind of stigma or any kind of anything with a whole class of people, or with just one or two people that
Just
were
there
out
to
there
learn
with you.
together and experience.
Yeah, and you all look the same, and you all, they may have a different colored shirt or belt, but that just meant that it was easier to understand them and where they were coming from by just looking at that. You didn't have to like have a conversation with them and try to figure out what the fuck they want, what their intention was, and what my intention. Oh my God. And that's one of the reasons I got out of office jobs and got into farming and agriculture and winemaking, was to get the fuck away from people, because it just drove me, it still drives me crazy dealing with people. I don't like the way people treat each other today. I never have.
that's the beauty of my job, man. I don't talk to anybody. Like, I mean, I'm level 2, level 3, so I get all the stuff that other people can't fix, and then I just fix it. I don't have to talk to anybody. I
Yeah,
just I just do it.
I can't
It's
wait. I
so
know
nice.
in a future podcast here, I can't wait till we do the work at home one. I really am I have a lot of questions about that. Work at home versus work, I guess.
I really think
Yeah.
that it would be very difficult for some people, but very enjoyable for others. I mean, for me, I don't like being around people. I really don't.
Neither.
It's
I only
it's
work with one other person.
I
Me
have
too.
I have a group of people that I like to be around physically, and even then it has its time limits. I get to a certain point of the night where I'm like,
Mhm.
I gotta go.
Are we done now? Are we done?
Yeah. Well, which I think is another part of ADD is it's not socialization, but
Just
overstimulation.
You just
it's
get
overstimulation.
tired.
The overstimulation can actually create fucking
Oh yeah.
anxiety. So.
Yeah. So it's like I recognize when I'm overstimulated and I'm like, okay, I gotta go.
Where was
And
this
I leave.
knowledge when we were in high school?
It was locked way back in the immaturity of being in high school.
Yeah.
Oh no, it was behind the bottle is where it was. And we had to reach through that bottle to find that part.
Or
So
rolled up in the paper piece of
yeah,
paper.
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, I think it's funny.
So
The Gideon's Bible pages are something else. Matt got it.
I've chosen the worst thing that anybody with ADD can do is be self-employed and work from home.
I don't know.
Because if
Except for
nothing gets
maybe
done,
working.
nothing gets done.
I
There's
was gonna
nobody.
say,
It's
I
like,
don't. I don't know,
Go
man.
ahead.
There's probably worse things out there. Like,
Do you have to yell at
working.
yourself sometimes and make yourself go see HR because you said something inappropriate to yourself that the other
I say
that the other you
inappropriate
got
shit all the
offended
time.
by?
I think the worst
Sometimes
part
there are
for
times
you,
I'm just
Trey,
like,
would
did I
be
just say that?
you're
But
gonna
yeah,
hear
be so-
something in the background that bothers you, and you're gonna be like, "Oh my god, how am I gonna make this stop?" And then you're gonna start hyper focusing on where that sound is coming from, and then you're gonna
Well,
spend
here he
6
goes.
days looking into what fan doesn't make noises into another room, and then you're gonna figure out that the electrical box to that fan needs to be rewired, so you're gonna have to re-sheetrock your entire room
Trey, I
because
see
you
the
just
fear in
pulled
your
all
eyes
the
right now.
that's where I
Well-
think it gets dangerous for you. Um,
Well, to your
But
point, though,
there's
that's the problem is I hyper focus.
Yeah.
I'll start working on
Yeah.
something and then I look up and it's 5:45. And I'm like, have
yeah,
I actually spent the last 9.5 hours on just one thing? I was like, I had 17 other
alarms,
things I
man.
needed to do.
Alarms are the best thing that I have
I
found
hate
with
alarms.
the lady in the
I
box. That
hate
lady in the
alarms.
box that I have in every room, I can set the timer for, okay, I'm going to go play PlayStation. Set the timer for 1 hour. And when that 1 hour is up, I turn it off and I move on to something else. It's like, so I don't get the opportunity to be hyper focused for that long, but that plays into the anger issues you get for being interrupted when you're hyper focused. That interruption that makes you lose all
Yes.
what's the word?
It makes you want to rip
Momentum,
people's heads off.
steam.
composure.
Momentum. Yes, momentum. You no longer have that momentum. Well, maybe
Yeah.
not momentum, but it's a similar word. Um,
Somebody put a hitch in your giddy up.
yeah, and now you don't have that drive to move forward. So you have to have in your head when you set that alarm that when that alarm goes off, you're not going to get mad about it. You're just going to move on and do the next thing you have that you need to get
No,
done.
I'm just going to turn the alarm off
And-
and go back to what I was doing because I've got a full
But-
head of steam and I want to finish what I'm on.
Snooze.
but
I mean,
but that's how you
okay.
talk about how
ADD
I
guy.
manage it. That's how I manage it. Is
Yeah.
I've had many, many years of experience for myself, knowing how I'm going to react to things and how I'm going to respond to things, and have been able to teach myself not to get upset when my focus gets interrupted. And, I'll tell you, having kids, as we all know, having kids has been one of the best things for my patience and for my anger issues when getting interrupted. That's pretty much all gone because when you don't get that choice when you have kids, they're gonna interrupt what you're doing.
You become,
So-
numb. You become numb eventually. So
Yeah,
and
so-
you become numb, and then you become gray, and that's what,
What?
happens to
I
us.
don't know what you're talking about. I haven't gotten anywhere near that.
With
I
kids,
mean-
with kids, they have their own
I give you
program.
$10 if we could just get you Princess Leia headphones. Look like a Spaceballs.
Nice.
That'd be so hot.
Oh, I'd wear them.
I can't
Oh, I
wait
know
for
you
that
totally.
second movie to come out.
I can put on
Dude.
my Chewy slippers.
I'd wear them in public, man. That'd be
I
that'd be
would.
awesome. I'd be walking down the street in my Leia beats.
All right,
You know?
I gotta go to bed, guys. There's your outro, okay?
All right.
Hey, Matt, we talk a little bit about
Pussy, it's only
Star Wars,
11,
and
it's
all of a sudden you
11:30
gotta go
before
bed.
July 4th. What are you gonna do? What are you gonna do?
Yeah, you got tomorrow off. Come on now.
Yeah, you're fucking. That's true. I was gonna say though, Trey, you said that you picked a tough job and having to be self-employed. Well, I work at an alcohol factory, basically.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. And your job is
I've
to
had
drink.
to learn. I've probably had to learn more about addiction than I have had to learn about ADHD for me personally. That's been more of a struggle for me than anything.
No, addiction's
Yeah.
a bitch.
Yeah.
Well, and it's only compounded by, the ADD factor behind it.
Yeah,
Because,
exactly. Well, there's that maturity piece in there. It's never going to go away. You have to understand that when you start at a starting line with another group of people, you're never going to come in that you're always going to lag behind in a lot of ways.
well, ADHD has already been proven to be a group of people more susceptible to addiction.
Oh yeah,
Than,
most definitely.
it's
That's definitely been around for a while. And
it's pretty much
right?
it's pretty much a pick your poison. Because of our chemical imbalance, we balance with,
and we're all
with-
musicians.
you need a dopamine.
Yeah.
Seriously, you need a dopamine dump. You need something to
yeah,
boom
it's
fucking make you yeah.
and that addiction, whatever that addiction is, gives you that dopamine fix for whatever short period of time that it does.
True.
And it's, so whether it's your drinking, my smoking, Trey's rabbit, whatever,
I'm playing with it right now.
it's all ADHD related. I mean, and I guarantee you every ADHD person has some addiction, whether it's harmful or not harmful. Everybody's got it. A lot of ADDers struggle with food addiction just because of sugar. We crave sugar.
Yeah, I'm gonna go have some sugar after we're done here.
So it's interesting how a lot of the chemicals affect us. Processed foods are a big one for, America. I can't even section that down to ADD. That's just us.
Well, when we were growing up, it was more of a thing because foods were less processed then.
Oh yeah.
So it makes sense.
I mean
when it had flavor and stuff. And
have you seen the differences between the Fruit Loops in Canada and the Fruit Loops here?
Oh, that's a whole show unto itself.
I mean,
yeah. Are we talking about what are we talking about here?
Well, okay.
What are we talking about here, guys?
Here we go.
There's ADD
Jason
at its
Clements,
finest,
AKA
right there.
Chuck Biscuit, professor of cereology.
Well, to kind of
blueberries taste like blueberries. Anyway,
it is the caviar.
To just kind of wrap it up, the emotional component is real, and part of that addiction, it comes from the comorbidity of like anxiety, depression, just the fear of rejection, or the fear of basically stepping out and putting yourself in uncomfortable situations because you're so scared of what's going to happen next. Am I going to be good enough? Am I good enough? The self-esteem issues, because that's what I've struggled with for years and still struggle with, because for what I do, when I don't get work, I'm just like, well, I thought it was good enough. Why didn't they like me? That's literally the thought that goes through my head at damn near 50. Why am I not good enough for you? What's wrong with me? Why am I not good enough?
Well,
it's hard.
Too many
and we've
guitars.
also had,
many
we've already
guitars.
had all of those conversations in our own head. Before we ever actually have the real conversation, we've had 50 different
Oh yeah.
conversations in our head about why you know, why we're not good enough for whatever it is we're trying to do. So we've already talked ourselves out of doing
Mhm.
whatever it was we're doing before we even step into it.
Even
You
after
know,
we've talked ourselves into doing it to begin with.
yeah, well, and that's one of those things that I managed as well. I'm one of the few people I know that's really good in a job interview because I don't look at it as, am I going to be good enough for this job? I go in
Job
and
better be good enough for me.
well, who's doing who the favor?
Exactly.
Really? I mean, in all honesty, who's doing who the favor here?
You
I
still
have
charge
a
me
job.
50 for an old fashioned. I mean,
I have a job. In order for me to leave my job, I'm doing you a favor to fill that position, right? So it's my outlook on that type of stuff that I had to train myself to look at it in a different perspective. And I go in with very much the attitude that I'm good enough for your job. Are you good enough for me? And I'm doing you a favor by filling this position. You aren't doing me a favor by hiring me. I'm doing you a favor by filling this position and giving you my talents for the amount of pay that you're willing to give me. So it's just that gives me a whole different point of view going into an interview. I'm not nervous. I don't care. I walk in and I'm just like, you're either going to give it to me or you're not. I'm just going to tell you what I'm capable of and I'm not going to let it stress me out. Right. And
exactly.
Yeah.
that's just how I approach it. But other people, they get real nervous. Am I going to be good enough
Some
for
people
this job? Am I
absolutely
gonna
get worked up about that
Yeah,
shit. I don't,
it's
man. I mean,
it's
it's a job interview. It's not the end of the world. You either get
right.
it or you
It's
don't get it.
test anxiety is what it is. It's
Yeah.
test anxiety. And I never gave a shit about tests either. I've always just been the guy, either I know it or I don't know it. I'm going to write
The
it down
only
or I'm
stress I ever got from
So-
test anxiety was the expectation that I would do well.
Oh, see, I didn't even care about that.
No, not me personally. I'm just saying, the pressures of,
Yeah. I don't know.
And I wonder-
I got beat down so heavily in Catholic school that after that I just didn't care.
again,
It's but it's
and
true.
it's funny
It's
because
true.
there
Because
there
those
is a
were the
part of
formative
me.
years.
Yeah, there is a part of me that because of the way I was treated as a kid, what I was called and called by not my parents or my sister, but called by extended family. I was called a demon child. I was possessed. I was a devil. I was stupid. I can't figure this out. I'm not good enough. A lot
All
of
the
that
reasons to
still
love
creeps
you.
back in. And
Yeah,
even and I don't know if it's
the demon thing
yeah.
in you.
Well,
I mean, look at
listen
what
to
you
the
started
music that we
listening
do.
to. I mean, yeah.
Exactly. And then I don't know if it's different because for the work that I try and do, because it's creative stuff, I put so much of like myself into it. Like if I'm reading a script, I'm trying to, I'm performing and I think, this is really good. This take is really awesome. These 5 takes were just like top notch. And they're like, yeah, we decided to go a different direction. And some of the casting sites that I use, they don't tell you why they decided to go a different direction. You don't have that closure in a sense. And it's like, well, what? I mean, I did really well. And I think that might be a bit of a difference for what
Thanks for
I
the
do.
practice.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, your job is really more subjective to what the person wants on the other side, and if they don't paint that picture clear enough for you, it makes it very difficult for you
Oh
to
my
reach
God.
their expectations.
It's like
I could go on a
winemaking.
rant about the instructions I get. Do this. Make it sound like you're talking to one of your friends. I'm like, okay. So like we went over here and did stuff. And they're like, can you do more energy? I was like, well, I don't talk to my friends like this. Anyway.
That was creepy. Yeah.
I kind of liked the puking. I
Like
I
you were
think
Oh
you
my
should
God.
keep
demon
doing that.
possessed.
That radio puking should come back. I think that needs to be the new trend again.
I don't know who it was. Whoever started slurring your S's and just talking like this, like you have bad veneers. whoever did that back in the 1970s, boy, they should be shot.
What newscaster was that? Oh God! What was
my
it?
God. I don't know.
Not Mike Wallace. I can't remember. He had the white hair that stuck almost straight up, and the big.
Is that who the
black
Anchorman
glasses.
was based on, or was that a different?
I think that was different, but Anchorman was just stereotypical 70s.
You weren't talking about John Madden, were you?
No, not John Madden. I'd have to look it up.
Marv
now.
Albert.
Maybe Marv Albert. Yeah. But he was also busy biting dudes on the ass or hookers on the ass.
I really want to say his first name started with an A, but I don't know. I mean, I could be wrong.
I guess it doesn't matter.
Yeah. Anyway.
All right.
You're gonna look it up. He's gonna look it up.
Yes, I am.
Yes. It does matter. Sorry. It matters a lot now. Damn it.
You notice the angle when his glasses go down? The shadow from his glasses when he looks down?
I think you're embarrassing him a little bit.
But when you were looking the other way and had your head looking down.
Oh, Christ. It was Harry Carey.
Eyelashes. It was really weird for a second.
Who?
I'm like, oh, Jason.
Oh,
Harry Carey.
Oh, in Chicago.
Yeah. It's a mesh of Shatner and
Shatner. Yeah. Man, that guy gets
like Christopher Walken. Like it's like you combine the two.
Yeah. If they
don't know
that'd be amazing.
Where to put our punctuation.
Christopher Walken. Shatner gets so fat, man. Every time I see him, he looks like he's gained like another 25
Well, he's dead
pounds.
now.
He's
so.
95, dude. No, he's not.
Is he dead?
He's not dead.
He's not dead.
He flew in
Trey
shit, did I just Nelson Mandela him?
Still in Morbid Angel too.
Yeah, well, we all got some shit wrong.
Did you say Shatner's dead? Shatner's not dead.
Hey,
and there'd be a
I don't know. Did we call Tom Araya a racist?
Frankie Valli was never part of the Mickey Mouse Club. Okay, so
Shatner
I
ain't
was
dead.
wrong
Hell,
too.
my wife shat in her pants the other day.
We're going on 3 hours here, guys.
Yeah, I think it is probably the ending point. You guys are at midnight. Holy crap.
I want to thank all of you for coming.
Yeah.
I really like all the Texas decor on there and those boots that people who don't live in Texas wear.
Oh, I wish I had.
This is what people in Massachusetts think people in Texas wear. I think.
Yeah, well, we still think y'all hang witches and stuff. So.
Well, that's like when the first time you walked into a grocery store and was it Roseburg or Eugene, and you walked into the aisle of granola and you just broke down laughing. That was funny.
It's all true.
God, your roommate, he did not like you from being Texas. He did not.
Well, a lot of people don't like that I'm from Texas. That's why I can claim I'm from Chicago, depending on what room I'm in.
Yeah, I don't have any better.
Helpful.
Where are you originally from?
Yeah.
Alabama.
Where do you live now? Florida.
Florida.
You're doing it to yourself, man. Get back
next
to
time
Virginia
that you come
so
to
we
Texas,
stop
you're
making
getting
fun
you
of
a
it.
Florida Georgia line tattoo.
Wow.
Put it right across my lower back.
Tramp stamp it, dude. Confederate flag. Oh,
it's just so stupid here.
I mean,
everybody's just
America's
so stupid.
Penis.
Let's get it.
I live in America's floppy dick.
Yes, you do.
Alligator holding a Confederate flag tattoo.
Where the South is actually the North and the North is actually the South.
Oh, should we talk about the alligator?
I've never understood that.
Oh my God, I was about to say, what about alligator Alcatraz?
Jason's like, no, God, no, please.
You want to add another 3 hours to this conversation, Matt? Because I'm up for it.
Oh my God. ADD after dark.
That's oddly sexual.
Yeah, you're not going to start doing one of those podcasts, are you? The after
Well, remember-
the podcast.
Tonight on
Hypersexuality is a
Cinemax.
component.
There's
So
a bed right back here, guy.
yeah, why isn't your wife trying to change while on the camera? I mean, come on.
You got nothing.
Yeah.
Wow, all I hear is Ozzy Osbourne.
Yeah.
That's the
only
outro.
gonna say that-
Sharon, I think he's got ADHD, man.
You know what's funny is
not
we don't.
coming home.
What's funny is that we can all get to a point in our lives now where we can laugh like we do, but we're all sober. It's so weird to me. Like we used to laugh like this when we.
This
would
kind
just
of
be
sobriety
drunk.
is a whole new level of fucked up. That's why.
Depravity.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it's awful. it's equal parts horrible and wonderful.
Yeah.
Oh,
well,
like having children, you know.
I think we've hit the point in our lives where all we can do is laugh or we'll cry.
Yep, it's like twerking
So-
in a
Yeah.
wheelchair.
What?
God.
What do you say?
I'm not surprised.
ADHD,
He
intrusive
said,
thoughts, man. What can you do?
he
It
said
happens.
twerking in a wheelchair. I'm not surprised that you of all of us would say twerk, but twerking in a wheelchair?
What, they don't twerk in Massachusetts?
I think it's like maybe the witches do or something.
They do it on the
What, they
stake.
with twitches?
Twitch. That'd be Twitch. Yeah.
Twitching? Instead of
Oh, is
twerking.
it? Yeah, I like that.
What are you doing, Mildred? I'm twitching.
They call it quake on a stake, man. Come on. It's different up there.
Quake on a
Oh.
steak.
That I resemble that remark. I'm related to Quakers, so.
Oh my God.
Oh God, we're good. We're derailing, Trey. Say
So-
bye.
So what you're saying is walking through all the granola was really more a flashback.
It was a colonizer moment.
This is. Oh my God! This is G2 calling out for director. Director, please turn this shit off.
This is great. This is like extra content.
Shove that in your ad and stuff it, director, okay? Why do you get to be fucking director and we're all just like fucking G1 and G2? What the fuck is that? So like grunt 1, grunt 2, and grunt 3, and you're the big fucking fancy director.
Oh,
Shit. God damn it. Where do I file a complaint about this bullshit? What the fuck is G2?
That's the other great thing about ADHD is when Matt does that.
I'm laughing so hard I'm crying. I think Kevin's having a coronary event over there or something.
Matt's
what's
the only one
funny?
that wears glasses that still has them on. Oh
I
my
know.
God.
I need you to take that whole rant
It's good.
and I need you to come up with a guitar and bass part and send it to me so I can put drums to it and we're gonna make a song
my
out of
God.
that rant.